That's why. All right, well then I will call this meeting to order at 7:01 PM. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I believe the minutes of, give me a second.
Mr. Toff, I'd just like to point out on the record that Ms. Pelfrey is sitting in the chairman position tonight in the absence of Mr. Lewis. Mr. Wing has joined us as well. But it appears that you're going to be functioning as kind of being
De facto chair.
or I would say more taking notes and helping with the administration. Of the
Yes,
meeting. So,
absolutely.
okay. So that's all I have at this moment.
Minutes of the October 27th meeting were distributed. Any additions, corrections, changes to be noted? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes for the October 27th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call, Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Wing,
Yes.
Mrs. Pelfrey,
Yes.
and Mr. Toff.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, and then all speakers, if you are going to speak tonight, there is a sheet in the back that we need you to fill out so that we can announce who you are and all of that. So we will proceed with the case for this evening, which is 2-21-Z, PD zone change request, James O. help me with that, Bonominio, applicant for Melcrest and Icolts Road project. Mr. Wright, would you please provide a case summary?
Yes, sir. I'll be brief. This is to rezone 5 parcels, 2 of which are already zoned B1, 3 of which are zoned R1. 2 planned development. This will allow about 45,500 square feet of mixed elevation commercial buildings. The applicant proposes businesses, restaurant, and fuel center, along with parking and drive-through commensurate with the proposed improvements. The location here is, if you can advance the slide, Craig, just immediately to the west of the Civic Center here. We, in fact, I think we can, I don't know if we can see it out the windows here at night now, but sunny day, we can. And it's contiguous to the Jungle Gym's retail development here just to the east. The project history: property was zoned R1, single family on Melcrest, and the property on Icolts is zoned B1 and has been since the inception of zoning. The parcels on Icolts were farmed for many years, but were subsequently sold to the Bonominio family, and they have acquired some of the Melcrest Drive parcels. Land use in the area is mixed, predominantly retail, heavily retail with some office use to the north, east, and west of the site. Business zoning, but agricultural use to the south, and then multifamily, high-density multifamily to the southwest. The plan indicates this is located in the central retail corridor. The PD approach is the most appropriate approach as specified in the plan. You can very clearly see here what is proposed, and the red outline is the B1 and then the R1 lots there. Using the PD district, zoning district, the use of high-quality materials and landscaping, monument signage, supportive neighborhood uses to that, to the underlying goals of the corridor. The PD plan regulations, the relevant sections have been provided. The fire department has reviewed the proposal. They have no issue with it as submitted, and will satisfy permitting requirements during final development approval. Just looking at this, this is another opportunity to successfully grow the Jungle Gyms International Market, and just a continued resurgence now. I'll call it a decade-long resurgence of the Eastgate South retail area. There are continued expansions here with Crossroads, RJ Cinema, most recently opening up the skating complex there, and the continued success of Jungle Gyms. A multitude of buildings are proposed here. There's one really large building, which you see an example of in the left elevation on the screen here, and then a smaller restaurant use, and then a fuel center, a split tenant fuel center use on the B1 portions there. Looking through this, we would require construction to utilize brick or stone pillars on the retail fuel center, which is a standard requirement, monument signage. Maximum height in this instance, because this has multiple tenants, we typically have done 15-foot monument signage on multiple tenant properties, just because you want to be able to accommodate the fuel, particularly with the fuel center use, to accommodate that. And then just looking at a couple of key issues here, they do propose a minimum buffer yard with trees planted 10 feet on center on the outside of the proposed fence, so I thought that was a nice feature as well to do that. And then also, there are a couple issues we want to talk about: pedestrian connectivity, facilitating pedestrian connectivity from the traffic signal on Eastgate South all the way through the site, making sure that people in the site can move freely in the site with appropriate pedestrian functionality. And then along I-Colts, that's a standard requirement that we would extend that as well. And then one other thing, we want to look at the adjusting slightly the alignment of the largest building on the site to ensure that the 20-foot buffer yard is preserved on all of those property lines, respective to some slopes and a stream that's there, and those kind of things. So with that, the action required is in accordance with 680 to 687. The zoning commission is to recommend approval, modification, or denial of this request to rezone to PD. There are 8 conditions for the commission's consideration. Address all agency comments. Dumpster enclosure should be masonry, match the construction of the building, secured with screens and gates. Complete a consolidation plat based on the final layout and disposition of the parcels. Monument signage, type 6 curb. These are just standard development review comments that we would have. Detailed landscaping plans at the time of permitting, with specific attention to the parking areas along I-Colts and a streetscape appearance. Increase the buffering yard adjacent to the stream on the, I gotta get oriented here, would be the, it would be the side closest to the Eastgate South, Eastgate South traffic signal there. And my eyes, I think, are starting to fail me. I can't find the north arrow. I know what direction it is, but I don't want to. It would be the north property line then. So, provide sidewalks and traditional building materials, which they have generally represented, and then further plan amendments are administrative in nature. So that concludes my staff report, and I do have one other additional item that, if it pleases the board, I'll read it into the record. I received a letter from an adjacent property owner, Myers Cooper Company. They indicate that they are a longtime property owner and developer in Clermont County. He supports new projects that enhance the community and economic success. They support Jungle Gyms International Market for the zoning classification change. I am concerned for its impact on adjacent properties and appreciate your consideration of the issue of the following issues. A 20-foot buffer yard is not maintained on the northwesterly corner, which I referenced there, of the proposed 33,000 square foot building. I believe this design will encroach will result in encroachment on the property during construction, limit the ability to establish reasonable landscape buffer, and compromise the creek bed. Second bullet point, the creek bed is approximately 10 feet below our finished grade, likely the same on the grade or greater on the subject site. The proposed grades were not included with public submittals. Maintaining the creek bed and its flow is of great importance. Any adjustments for retaining walls, storm structures, or slopes necessary for the parking area and building will likely impact the stability of slopes and site improvements on my property. The future of Melcrest Drive as a residential street is uncertain, but no indication on how the dead end of the street will be addressed by the project during the intervening years. I understand many details remain to be determined, but approving this design as presented needs additional clarification from the developer and assurance that adjacent properties will not be adversely impacted by project design and implementation. Sincerely, Raymond K. Cooper II. That's Randy Cooper, and he is the building owner. And that's all I have. So,
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Is the applicant or the representative here to present their case? Please introduce yourself.
Phil Adams, Director of Development, Jungle Gyms.
Thank you. Floor is yours.
What's that?
The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Those are good points that Mr. Cooper mentioned. We can adjust and address those at that, as we get closer. At this point, it's still, proposed. We don't have any tenants. We haven't talked to anyone at this point. It's hard to talk to them without an actual plan, not being able to go forward and say, hey, this is what we're going to try to do. So we put this together. We tried to do it last year, but the pandemic hit us, and our first priority is obviously the grocery store. So, yeah, the fuel station, if it were our choice, we'd hope that the electric gets to that point, that it's not gas and diesel, that it's more advanced if we get to that point. And hopefully it enhances this lifestyle center that we're trying to create. We're at 100% capacity in our center at this point. We don't have any tenants looking to leave at this point, so we don't have any opportunities in the center itself to grow. The property, the house that is there at the end of Melcrest that they represent, that is part of our development here. That house would go away with the big box if it becomes a big box. So, it's all proposed. We think it's a good plan. It helps clean up some of the traffic flows in and around the area. The roundabout was a big help to us as we moved into this area. That helped with traffic significantly, and we've noticed the traffic on Eichholz has been growing significantly as well with the underpass that was put in and everything that helped develop around it. So with that, I think that, they're small, they're good businesses that will go in there, and the bigger box, time will tell who it is, and we're kind of picky on who we want to put in there, so it's not going to be, it's going to be a good project for us. We like to build. That's one of the things we like to do beyond grocery is we like to build. And we like to do nice buildings with it. So,
Thank you
any
for your time.
questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Specific? No? No, thank you.
Thank you.
You have a question behind you. Actually, should we close this session? Thank you. John Eichholz, the floor is yours. Would you like to pose your question first?
As the owner of the property south of Eichholz Road, there is a farm entrance opposite the gas station and restaurant that could be there, the drive-through restaurant. I think it would be wise to align the entrance of the gas station opposite the entrance to the farm. Was that your?
We didn't look at that.
I mean, I know that's a detail, so that's just
Probably a TBD.
a thought.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if the entrance to the gas station is opposite the entrance to the farm, perhaps someday there would be a stop sign there. People tend to speed up in that region. So that's that's just a thought looking forward. I do see pedestrians on Icolts Road every day. Not that there's that many, but it's not the greatest road to be a pedestrian. So were there sidewalks next to your property, on your side?
So one of the recommendations in the report is to, one, facilitate pedestrian access from, I'll call it the peppers, the chili pepper traffic signal. Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, number 7, you want me to read it?
Yeah, and that'll go south through the site, and then also, there's a condition included in there to run it along the frontage of Icolts Road. So it would be all the way from the very corner to the very corner, basically. Would be, they'd have to run that all the way along the frontage, if the commission adopts that condition.
That's great. I don't care which side of the road it's on, but is it on the business
It
side?
would be on their side.
That makes
Yes.
more sense to be on the business side.
Yes.
Do you foresee that the gas station would be open all night? Or that's looking too far forward and it's,
No, the answer, no, the answer.
I guess that's all I've got for now. Okay,
Thank you, John.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Echols.
Mr. Eichel's, thank you.
So that moves right into anyone here to speak against. So the public portion of this meeting will now be closed, and the board will move to discuss. Does anyone else have any additional questions, concerns?
No questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Shall I go ahead to form a motion? You have to bear with me
I'd
because
just
I
like
thought
to
you
make
were.
a comment.
Yes.
I am so happy to see a sidewalk included in this. It's very much needed.
Bear with me because I'm winging it here. I will proceed to form a motion in regards to case number 2-21-Z, applicant James O. Bonaminio? I almost got it that time. Applicant, zoning commission finds the submitted PD application, zone request, is consistent with the Horizon 2030 land use plan, but does not meet all the planned development application requirements of the PD district plan. Therefore, this commission recommends the submitted plan be approved contingent upon adherence to the noted modifications as specified in this motion. All required supplemental information and plan modifications must be completed and submitted to the planning director no later than 1 week prior to the trustees meeting, hearing of this case, which, should we cite that date now?
It's December 2nd. Yes, I mean, if there's any
Modifications.
modifications
Okay.
that would need to be, they could be addressed by that
Okay.
time. I
Hearings
think.
of this case. Findings of fact, this is in fact in a, let me find it here. This is already in a R1, single-family and mostly B1 business corridor. Most of this is already in a commercial area. So contingent upon the modifications listed as 1 through 9 in the report as the recommended modifications. And then do we want to speak to the letter from Randy Cooper, or to be considered,
It's really, would be the board's
it will be,
for discussion.
do we want to include that in the motion that's been spread across the minutes? Randy, his letter asking for consideration. A lot of those plans are going to be determined later. Are we comfortable with the modification 1 through 9?
Yes,
only in the
I-
motion?
I
Okay.
believe it encapsulates
Okay.
what can be encapsulated at the moment.
So modifications is 1 through 9 listed in the report. And that concludes my motion. I have a
I'll
motion.
second.
Second?
Roll call, Mr. Toth,
Yes.
Mr. Wing,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Pelfrey,
Yes.
and Mr. Shannon. Motion carried.
Thank you. That being concluded, is there any other new business to come before this board?
Nope.
Any?
Sir?
Oh, yes.
I would just add that the trustees will hear this on December 9th.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright. Is there any old business? None? Then I shall call this meeting to be adjourned at 7:21 PM.
Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So which football game?